You mentioned Keenan Ivory Wayans. You go on, you're a dancer or choreographer
And not
on
or, not
in
or, and.
and there we go. In living. So here again, you're acting, you're dancing, was choreography and dance always a love of yours? Like,
Always.
how do you go to college Hollywood, and now there's this hit TV show that is a cult favorite, especially amongst African Americans, but it is really opening the door for new comedy sketches and what comedy would become on television. And you become the choreographer for the Fly Girls. How does that happen?
It's different when you say it like that now because, we're looking back on what it became, right? But at the time, I want to say that, the early 90s was such a special time on a lot of different levels. I think now we can say it was a special time for music. It was a launch of hip hop, House Party 89, 90. It was the launch of hip hop, fashion and music in the cinema. And so to be such an intricate part of that time, I personally think was predestined for me. And so I was supposed to be a part of that, the birth of the brown skin actress then. And
Mhm,
so
mhm.
I accept that as part of my assignment, right? My divine assignment. So, I always loved dancing. I mean, I was the stepmaster when I was in school as a Delta. We called it a show duck then. But,
Mhm.
I did a lot of the choreography. Even when I was little, I would make up dances, and perform at Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner. I'd make up shows and perform for my family. So I've always been a performer. And I never thought, oh, now I'm a choreographer for a TV show. It was that I was in a club dancing again, just like with Holyfield. I was in a club in LA this time. And this tall guy, didn't even know who Keenan was, comes up and says, we need to exchange information. I'm working on a project and I think you're perfect for it. Okay, so that's what everybody in Hollywood says, right? And I was like, yeah, sure you are. Sure you are. So I was like, give me your number and I'll have my agent call your agent type of thing. And he was like, no, for real. So I said, okay, well, give me your number. He said, let me take you to lunch tomorrow. I want to tell you about it. And so literally I called him. We went to lunch and he said, I'm creating this show. He said, but here's the thing. You're not really on the show. I'm thinking about using the kind of dancing you're doing as like a commercial break bumper. And he was like, I've never really seen it. You're flowing, clearly you're just having a good time, but your moves are crazy. And he was like, could you teach that to a group of girls? And I was like, yeah. And so he said, well, let's just see what happens. Long story short, the networks decided to give him a pilot and he hired me to be the choreography and one of the lead Fly Girls. And at the same time, we had the same attorney, Stephen Barnes, one of the most powerful African-American attorneys in Hollywood. And Stephen said, I've got clients at the time with Reginald and Warrington Hudlin. I've got clients who have a movie they're working on, and I think you're perfect for it. Can I bring them to your In Living Color rehearsal? I need them to see you do your thing. Now, I had never read the script from House Party. I never heard of it. My attorney just said, I got some friends I want to bring that are working on a project, and I think you're right for it. So just think about how all that was working. I'm going back to the 90s, how it worked in the 90s, right? So here comes my attorney, Keenan's attorney, brings Reggie and Warrington Hudlin to one of the choreography rehearsals. So now I'm being my thing. No, it's cat, head spin, tap, tap, shake it, shoulders. I'm doing my thing. And all of a sudden they say, she's perfect. She's perfect. And so they said,
Wow.
we want you to come in and do a chemistry read. The chemistry read turned out to be with Tisha. I couldn't make this. I couldn't write this. I couldn't write these stories if I wanted to. I could not write these stories if I wanted to. And you know the rest of the history to that.
Wow.
Did you follow all that? I gave you a lot
Yes.
really fast.
No, but it just shows how some things are just divine. Some things it's just meant to happen if you trust the process.
But see, now that we're talking about these details, and I don't get a lot of opportunities to go through it like you're having me do, which is also really fun. But as I'm talking about it, I pray that you and people listening can hear God's involvement. You can hear where it's not a whole lot of me doing anything except me showing up when it's my time to show up. It's me being prepared when I'm asked to perform something, That's really all I've done, is just making sure I'm prepared. God's provided the opportunities and the relationships and the networking. You know, all I had to do was show up and be ready. And that's what I tell everybody. When people say, you know, what's your advice to somebody going to Hollywood? I say, don't go unless you really, really want it, because it's a life that's not for everybody. You just learn that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just learn that. So the first thing I say is, if you don't really, really want it, it's going to put you in the ground earlier than you need to be. You got to be really, really in a position where you want it, so that if you die trying, you're happy.
There you go.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
It is not for the weak.
No. You got to get used to that word, no. Or better yet, you got to get used to just not getting them called back. So if you got sensitive skin, good luck.
Right. And you get told no more as an African American than anybody. And you get told no more as an African American woman than anybody.
Wow.